All right. Hello, nerds. Nerds for Humanity. This is a kind of sad reason to have a live stream. As many of you know, an OG member of the Yang Gang passed away this month. His name was Don Sun, and he was kind of a behind the scenes guy. But I thought I'd do a quick live stream. It may not be that long. If anybody watching this has a Don story they want to share, you can. I'll put a link to the StreamYard green room. You can just use the link in the live chat, and you can come on and join me and share your story. But I thought, it was a bit of a shock because Don was a super energetic guy, and he was. I think he was a big. He was very passionate about more AAPI representation in government, and he was willing to put in the work to support long shot candidates. I was at an event where like Lan He Chen and Greg Tanaka and maybe Evan Lowe was there too. I don't know. Andrew was there. So he was a big supporter of Andrew Yang's. And so I'll share my Don Sun story, which is I was doing Nerds for Yang, which was the predecessor to Nerds for Humanity. And I was doing these videos about how Yang was doing in the polls and whatever. And apparently, some people in the Yang Gang came across the channel. And I remember getting an email from him saying, "Hey, I'm from the Andrew Yang campaign. Would you be open to talking about helping out more?" And at first I was like, I don't know if this guy's really on the campaign or not, but sure. So I had a call with him. He's a very gracious guy. And he said, look, please keep doing what you're doing. People appreciate it. And it's helpful. And I was like, okay, yeah. And then he said, like, hey, if there's ever anything I can do, like, to help you, let me know. And he even like organized some volunteers to help with some of the video editing. And then at one point, I think he and I had dinner. Yes. We had dinner. We had sushi. And, I met him in person. And we were just kind of shooting the breeze. And he was talking about how the campaign was going. And I said, oh, how does it work to do an Andrew Yang event? And he's like, oh, well, like it's hosted at someone's house. And if they can get enough people to contribute, like then it's kind of worth Andrew's time to come out to the house and, do an event. And I was like, well, how much do you need to raise for it to be worth it for him? And I think he was saying something like, I may get the number wrong, but it was something, maybe it was like 20 grand, 25 grand. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to do that. And then we were talking and brainstorming, and I said, well, what if we had an event with Andrew, but he doesn't have to fly out to anybody's house, and he doesn't have to hang out in the house after the event, mingle, take pictures or any of that. But he comes on to a live stream, or it comes on to like a video interview. And Don was like, that's interesting. And I was like, look, it's no skin off his back. He hops on a computer for 30 minutes and it helps the campaign raise 10 grand. Now, in fairness, like a lot of people come up with ideas during, political campaigns, and most of them are probably not very good. Don could have been like, okay, thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. We'll keep it. We'll get back to you. But Don was very responsive and a go-getter. So like the next day, he's like, look, I talked to Andrew. Like, Andrew likes you. Like, he likes what you're doing. Like, we're going to make it happen. And I was like, oh, okay. So I said, like, how do we do this? And then he said, okay, Don said I'm going to give you a dedicated like donation page, and you can tell me what content you want on there. And he's like, it'll have a special URL and it'll track the donations. And then, every few days, I'll give you an update on how much your Nerds for Yang people have raised. I was like, oh, this is great. I love it. And so, I did a video saying, hey, nerds, hello, nerds, great opportunity. We have a chance to get Andrew on the show for a one-on-one interview, blah, blah, blah. Here's a link. And we did that. And long story short, like we raised the 10K, and then we did it like, I think 2 more times. And I think in total, we might have raised, and the second interview costed more, and then the third interview cost more. But it was okay because by then Andrew had grown in popularity. So we were able to raise more money. And I think in total, we probably raised damn near 100 grand. And I'm not sure. I think Paget did it too. So it became like, one of the ways that the Yang campaign raised money. And it was all because Don took the initiative and reached out to me, and then was willing to kind of brainstorm, and then wasn't just talk, but actually like did something about it, and then followed through. And I still remember my first interview with Andrew, and I think at that time I was like I was working from Zurich, and I was like, oh my god, like Zoom interview with Andrew, I hope the quality is going to be okay, blah blah blah. And I log in early, and there's Don in some freaking crowded conference room. There's a lot of action going on. I hear Andrew in the background. I even think he was like interviewing someone. I don't think Andrew knew that the Zoom or whatever we were using at the time, Skype, I don't remember. Whatever platform it was connected. And I think it was Skype, now that I think about it. This is in 2019. And so Don was like, hey, can you hear me okay? Like he's trying to make sure everything's set up. Like how does the background look? Maybe I'll hang up some stuff. So he was kind of like advancing the little event. And then he's like, okay, Tom, like, I'm going to get Andrew to come over. And then of course we did the interview. Andrew has a bolt. Don says, thank you. Screen goes black. And then since then, we did multiple events. And then after the Yang campaign, I met up with Don. He came over to my house to say hello. And, You remember it, right, Mickey? Yeah, that was a fun one. I'll see. You know, let me see if I can find it because Don made that video possible. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Nerds for Humanity. While I'm looking for it, yeah, it might take too long to find it. Hold on. I'll find it. I'll put a link to it in the description, or if anybody in the chat can find the first Andrew Yang on Nerds for Humanity video, let me know. Now I can't let it go, so I'm definitely gonna have to look for it. Hold on one second. Switch account, nerds, view channel. I think it might have been, yeah, videos, and then I can go to oldest. Where the hell is it? By the way, hey, I'll even share my screen because it's like a trip down memory lane. Look at this. God. This this is the first video from 5 years ago. Oh my God. Yang, Buttigieg, the money race. Okay, so where was the Yang? Oh. The NFY 10K challenge. What can you share with us? What's the most surprising thing you've learned in this campaign? Hold on. Nerds for Yang. I have a very special surprise for you. I have had a dialogue with the Yang campaign, and I've been asking to get Andrew on this show. One of the things that I've learned is he's super busy, and usually when he has time, okay, first of all, how amazing is it to look at yourself with no gray hair and 10 pounds less? But second of all, this was it, man. That video was 4 years ago, July 21, 2019. And then the actual Yang interview that Don set up, where the hell is it? Secure the Yang. I love it. Oh, here we go.
Nerds. Hello, nerds.
Andrew. Hello, nerds. This is a very, very special episode. As many of you know, we started the Nerds for Yang challenge, and the campaign said, hey, little YouTube channel, if you can raise 10K, maybe we can get Andrew to say hi on the show. So in 10 days, we raised...
Bros, we did that in 10 days. 10 days we raised that money. Freaking Yang gang.
Over $10,000, 15, but who's counting? And
raised 15K the first time. Love it.
That's who I have on this show. So we got to start it off right. Andrew M.F. Yang, the one, the only, the nerd in chief. What do you have to say to the audience?
Hello, nerds. Hello, nerds.
Woo!
Hey, we did it. Just want to say how grateful I am. And
oh my God. All right. So, Mickey donated. I love it. I love it. Yeah. So that video, that interview, that 15K, and then there was another, I think it totaled, the second one was maybe 25, and the third one might have been 50. It was crazy. That's all Don's son's doing. And then when Don came over after the campaign, I moved back to the States, relocated to California. And I said, hey, man, we should get together in person, even though the campaign's over. And he came over for tea. And I think we had tea outside. I think this is during the pandemic. But he brought me, I still have it. he brought me some tea because I think he had some kind of tea business back in the day, and it was really good tea. And then we talked about opportunities for me to get more civically engaged. We never, Don and I were never able to do a campaign together. Don, if I ever do, it'll be partly because of the encouragement from folks like Don. And he gave me some great ideas. He was like, hey, you could start by volunteering in like a county commission. And I've taken his advice to heart because I wasn't ready to kind of be a full-time candidate. But because of him, I volunteered for the San Mateo County Commission on Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. And I now am a volunteer instructor at Foothill Community College. And, I was able to spend a few weeks in January with Andrew and Dean Phillips in New Hampshire. A lot of that, I don't know if I would have done it, without some of the encouragement I got from Don, where Don was like, hey, man, you don't have to run for office if you want to give back. There are lots of things that you can do to be more civically engaged. And so, that was, and this is a guy, you got to love the chutzpah. I mean, he was a first generation immigrant, and it's very easy to just focus on doing your thing, put your head down, like live your life. Don't get engaged. Don't get involved. But he did. And he helped a lot of candidates. In fact, there was another thing he did, which was, let's see, Michelle Wu was a candidate who ran for mayor of Boston. And I think he helped put together a fundraising campaign for her, not campaign, like an event. And then he said, hey, would you be up for interviewing Michelle Wu? Because a lot of the donors, like they don't want to moderate the fireside chat or whatever. I was like, seriously? Of course. Love it. And then I said, hey, can I record it and put it on Nerds channel? And he said, yeah, definitely. So, I kind of feel like Don was taken away too soon. He was doing a lot of good for society. And because of him, I think, if you read Andrew Yang's post, he became almost like another member of the Andrew Yang family, and Evelyn and Don were good friends, and it's a hard life. Like Don was telling me how he was in Iowa and crashing in Airbnbs and just doing whatever he could to be helpful to the campaign. Let me tell you something. I knew that was hard. That was hard work. But now, having spent just like about 3 weeks in New Hampshire on a campaign, I don't know how the hell those people do that. And he was doing it he was doing Iowa and New Hampshire and pre-Iowa. So, we're grateful. I'm grateful for Don. I think if everybody can, try and take a page from his book and help out whatever communities you are part of. And, another thing about this guy, he never asked for any kind of spotlight or celebrity or whatever. Like he was happy. He's like, look, I'm just here to help. I'm just trying to pitch in here. But he did a lot more than pitch in. Like he helped make stuff happen. And probably Andrew Yang wouldn't have run for president or wouldn't have nearly had as much impact, especially in the early days. My understanding is there were points where the Yang 2020 campaign would have come to an end if it weren't for, folks like Don. In fact, I remember Don telling me a story about raising money for Andrew. And, he got all of his friends to go to these events. And it was not an easy sell to say, hey, look, come to this event. This guy, Andrew Yang's running for president, and he wants to give away $1,000 a month. Now, if you think about the traditional first generation East Asian or Chinese American immigrants, they're not naturally predisposed to any kind of government involvement in money. Many of these people have fled communist China and have certain associations with government involvement in the economy. Obviously, we all know that basic income is not the same as, communism or socialism. It's more, we won't go into it, but it was actually espoused by many hardcore conservative economists from like University of Chicago and, American Enterprise Institute, that kind of thing. But my point is that Don had to kind of stick his neck out. And he had to basically get his friends together. And he told me the early events, after the event, sometimes like nobody would write a check. Or people would get angry at Don saying like, why did you bring me to this thing? Like, this Andrew Yang's talking about, technology taking jobs. Like, what is this? And so that's another example of Don like freaking putting it out there, man, and taking one for the team. I think Andrew knows that Don, was the earliest of early adopters and backers of the Yang campaign. And then in addition to Yang, Don has helped out. He had like this thing, I think, Asian American Forward organization. And he was trying to help candidates who don't come from traditional political candidate backgrounds, put their name out there. So, yeah, I will miss Don, but I'm also grateful to him. And if any of you have a Don story that you want to share in the comments after this live stream is over, please do so. I suspect, hopefully his family will come across this video. I'll try and share it with people who I know are more in contact with Don. Can you post the Don son picture? Mr. History Fan is saying. Yeah, let me see if I can find it. Oh my God. It's the other thing while I'm pulling that up is know that Don had cancer, and that is it was something that he thought like he had. I think he thought he had like maybe the flu or something, and obviously it was much worse than that. And I think it's a good, if there's something else that we can maybe positive we can take away from this is remember to, kind of have proactive care, healthcare, get your colonoscopy, have your annual checkup, get your regular blood tests. Like this kind of stuff is a good reminder that life is precious. And so here's Don's picture. I finally got it. So if any of you, many of you may not recognize him because he was a behind the scenes kind of dude. And he was always, this is kind of a badass picture of him, but he was always super friendly. He was always in a good sense of humor. He didn't take himself too seriously. He was a good dude, and we'll miss him. So, Don, I wish I had another opportunity to have sushi with you and talk about life, and to say thank you. I think he and I used to talk about how the work that these candidates were doing was so useful and so helpful, and it was a sign of progress. But, those candidates wouldn't exist if it weren't for people who kind of work their butts off behind the scenes, like Don. The candidates are important, but they're not. They can't get anywhere without people who are willing to take a chance. So, Don, thank you. Thank you for everything you did for the Asian American community and for the American democracy, for encouraging competition and representation. We will definitely miss you, and we hope you'll rest in peace and that your legacy will continue to produce positive energy and progress for America and humanity. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye, nerds. And if you want to share some more thoughts in the comments, feel free to do so. Bye, nerds, and bye, Don.